Good morning, Prof. Titi. Good morning, friends. So in our today's TOEFL class, we're going to learn about cooperative learning model that will be presented by Group 4. So in Group 4, there are 3 members. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Putu Nanda Sheila Yudha, as Yudha, and also my friend. She is Putu Susrini or Susri, and Putu Natania or Febi. So yeah, we're going to move to our next chapter. So the first chapter, I'm going to explain the background first, the introduction. So education is an important aspect for humans. In educational matters, there is a tendency in which the schools form superior classes which are differentiated on the academic achievement of students. The phenomena that appear in education systems tend to treat students unfairly. The smart students are labeled as a superior and obtain great facilities, while the students who are less clever get a negative predicate and less facilitate. Students in superior groups tend to be competitive and individualistic. Meanwhile, students in non-superior felt unable to compete. In conventional or traditional learning, the teacher becomes the center of the attention in the learning process because the teacher transfers all the material for the students. This learning method is ineffective in constructing student activeness and participation during the learning process because students tend to carry out their activities individually, so there is a lack of interaction between fellow students. It can also create a competition between students because the lack of the activities that build students' cooperation in the learning process. So in this case, the teacher needs to develop learning strategies that provides opportunities for students to build on knowledge, to build their own knowledge. According to constructivism, there are 2 factors that influence the student learning success. So the first one is the internal factors. It is motivation, student abilities, interests, and while the external factors, it is the environment and also the learning model. So cooperative learning can be the alternative strategy that can be applied by the teacher in the class. It is because many experts argue that active learning, including cooperative learning, can increase the effectiveness of learning process. So in this presentation, we will discuss more deeply about cooperative learning and its application. So what is cooperative learning? Cooperative learning, according to Singh and Agrawal in 2011, cooperative learning is a learning process in which the student learns in their small groups to share their knowledge so that the students could maximize and help each other learning. This learning process is more concerned with the group activities than individual activities of the student. This is because the cooperation is the basic character of human, and cooperative learning prioritizes cooperation compared to competition. Therefore, in cooperative learning, the students will be able to survive with the cooperation in their groups when facing some difficulties in the learning process. And there are 3 types of cooperative learning. So the first one is formal cooperative learning groups, the second one is informal cooperative learning group, and the last one is cooperative-based groups. So for the formal cooperative learning groups consist of a group of students who work together over a class period for several weeks to achieve common learning goals. For example, like writing a report, conducting a survey, or maybe experiment, or answering a question in the end of the chapter. And for the informal cooperative learning groups, it consists of ad hoc groups that work together to achieve goals which is temporarily, which lasts a few minutes to a class period. And for the cooperative-based group, is a long-term cooperative learning with a consistent member. This learning is permanent, lasting for about one and more several years, and provide long-term relationship that influence the member consistently to cooperate in a school.
Hello everyone, I'm Natania. So in this occasion, I would like to explain about the impact of cooperative learning and the 5 basics of cooperative learning. So as the first, the impact of cooperative learning. The main objective of cooperative learning is to achieve the learning target by the effectiveness of cooperative learning. To achieve the target, the teachers must use the effective teaching method of instructing the students. Um, a student who works in cooperative tend to understand more and get to know each other. They will have more opportunities to develop their critical thinking and skill and show their significant improvement in their skills. The more the impact actually focus on their oral communication skill because in the learning process actually students try to communicate with each member and try to make each member understand about what they are talking about. And the second is student can complement each other because by this the student feel that they have the supporting system in study of course. And the third is able to help their understanding because each student who have higher knowledge will teach the less knowledge. So in this cooperative learning, who are the higher have higher ability will teach the less and makes that equal understanding on this cooperative learning. Next, with the basic elements of cooperative learning. Uh, Actually, according to Johnson's, the aims of cooperative learnings are to maximize each other's members' learning to make equal understanding of particular courses. The teachers give the further assistance in collaborative skill and makes the student achieve their target. Actually, the cooperative learning is really different with the group working. Meanwhile, the group working is only focused on accomplishing the assignment by setting the students together and without any further assistance because the teachers assume that every student have the equal ability for that. And the first is the 5 basic elements of cooperative learning is the first is positive interdependence. This means that the students to each other have the link between us and student to achieve their goals. Remember that their own works, are really beneficial to each other to achieve their goal. So this is really necessary because every student have their own responsible to make it better to do their best in this work. And the way to encourage that all members are involved in the groups are by observing that they are well participate in this group. And the second is individual accountability. This is exists when their performance of the student were assessed by the teachers, and the results are given back to the group and their individual. As the purpose of creative learning is to make the students stronger individual as a learner, because learning is to make each other intended to learn and together so that they can perform their best. There are several ways that can be used to figure that individual are responsibility in their group. The first is giving an individual task. The second is selecting a random student to on more students to be a representative for their groups. And the third is ask and choose the selected student to ask them to express and tell what they have learned on this group. And the third is face-to-face promotive interaction. Is an individual promotion by the students in the group to each member by helping, assisting, supporting, and praising each other's effort to achieve their goal. They are essential because they have an ability to influence each others because this is our because in this part, the student feel that they have to have an equal understanding. The fourth is group skills. It means that can you imagine if we placing the unskilled student into social group skill, asking them to cooperate actually, and this does not guarantee that they have able to learning with their effective in group. Because cooperative learning efforts requires interpersonal people who are passionate and able to work cooperatively. The skills that needed in cooperative learning actually leadership decision, making trust building, communication, and conflict management. So this is necessary to be taught to the student that they have to for the future their ability that it will be valuable. Five is group processing. This element exists when the group members discuss how well they achieve their goal and handle working relationship. When the difficulty come up, the group that relates to each member student must engage in the group processing and identifying what the problem solving that they have must do. Those five basic must be understood by the teachers and also the students, because sometimes the teachers are really misconception between the cooperative learning and group working. So that this is by five basic is kind of essential fundamental as a board of teachers and students to know about, because to help this process or method, it's really kind to know what the basic elements of cooperative learning. So that's all about my presentation. Next topics will be presented by my friends.
Hello everyone, I'm Putu Susrini with student number 18120211120 from 5A class. Today, I would like to continue our presentation and I would like to explain about the strengths and the weaknesses of cooperative learning. So, according to Gufron and Ermawati 2018, there are several strengths and weaknesses of cooperative learning in the classroom. The application of cooperative learning in the class tend to increase the students' self-confidence and also motivation when participating in the learning process. The existence of social interaction between students can reduce students' nervousness during the learning process, and it also can increase students' responsibility in the learning and make it easier for the students to learn through the sharing ideas. This cooperative learning is very good for students because students will complement each other when they experiencing something difficult in the learning process. Gufron also stated that the application of cooperative learning can train students' leadership skills, such as managing multiple tasks or assignments, and also can keep all students on track. And for the weaknesses, we know that each learning definitely has weaknesses, as well as cooperative learning. In the application of cooperative learning, it will take a lot of time to prepare the lessons. As we know that in cooperative learning, there is formal cooperative learning group as one type of cooperative learning. This formal cooperative learning groups is very effective for the long-term learning. So this learning will take longer in the preparation for the implementation. It is also difficult to manage this learning because it is need the active participation from both the students and also the teacher. In addition, the teachers also need to provide active supervision for the students by reviewing the students' activities in the class. For example, controlling each group of students and managing the learning process. So for the second topics that I want to present today is the implementation of cooperative learning for students. In implementing cooperative learning activities for students in the class, there are some techniques or strategies that can be used by the teacher to implement his learning model. So in these slides, I recommend you three techniques of implementing the cooperative learning. So the first technique is jigsaw techniques. Jigsaw technique is one of the cooperative learning models that developed by Aronson in 2009. And jigsaw is very interesting for students because it can reduce the racial conflicts among the students in the school. Jigsaw can create good learning activities, increase students' motivation, and make students more enjoy participating in the learning process. These techniques usually used to improve students' understanding of the text. Therefore, this technique is often used in the teaching reading. And the second technique is think, pair, share techniques. Think, pair, share techniques is one of cooperative learning models that has aimed to provide the opportunities for students to think about the specific topics and enabling them to formulate their individual ideas and share their ideas for the other students. This learning technique was developed by Lehman to encourage the students' participation in the learning process. And in applying this technique, the students are formed in a group. Then the teacher gives some problems or questions to the students, and then the teacher gives some opportunities for the students to think about these problems or this question that given by their teacher, and then students have to share their ideas about that problem for the other students. And then for the third techniques of implementing the cooperative learning is round-robin discussion. Round-robin discussion is a cooperative learning model that is claimed to improve the students' holistic abilities. The use of round-robin discussion is very suitable for the high-level students because at this level, students need to improve their critical thinking skills when responding to the certain topics in the lessons. In addition, at this level, students' presentation skills and self-confidence also need to be considered because students will participate more in the learning process. In the application of the learning process, the student will divide it into several groups that can help them to exchange their ideas and present the learning with the clear guidelines and rules. Therefore, the use of round-robin in the learning activities can improve students' critical thinking skills, improve their presentation skills, self-confidence, and students' independent learning. In implementing the cooperative learning, we will need several procedures or steps for each techniques that I have already mentioned before, and I think these procedures is really needed for the teacher in implementing these techniques. So to gain some more information about this procedure, I want to share some videos about this procedure. So let's watch the video.
Think, Pair, Share helps students take time to consider especially thought-provoking questions before they share. When you use Think, Pair, Share, it's important to give students a few moments to think about the question before voicing their ideas to a partner and listening to their partner's ideas. In the subsequent whole class discussion, only a few volunteers share.
This is a round robin structure and it's universal, so you can use it with any activity. It's very easy to fit in and it actively engages every student at some point, either active listening or engaged in talking. In this case, I used it as a review of the chapter we read the previous week to help them get back on track before we start the new chapter. Each student participates by sharing something that they learned from the chapter while the other team members are actively listening because they're not allowed to repeat what somebody else has said, and they may use the books that are provided for them. So this way they each come up with a new idea that they've learned from the chapter, and they're prepared for when I then call on each team to share something as a whole class review, and then we're already ready to move on to the next chapter.
Okay, so welcome back to me. In this section, I would like to explain about the result of the research about the cooperative learning. To prove that cooperative learning is effective or working in the teaching process, there are many researchers who conduct the effect of the implementing cooperative learning into the teaching process. In this part, will consist of the result of the research about implementing and cooperative learning. So the first research was titled The Impact of Cooperative Learning on Developing Speaking Ability and Motivation Toward Learning English. The study was aimed to investigate the effectiveness of cooperative learning in English language classroom to enhance Iranian students' speaking skills and motivation. The research was controlled by pre-test, post-test in order to compare the impact of cooperative learning and approach with traditional whole class instruction on speaking skill and motivation. The background of conducting this research actually that there are four main problems in this problem, because the first is teacher-centered classes, the second is competition is more important rather than cooperation, the third is teachers' unfamiliarity about cooperative learning approach, and the fourth is student minimum knowledge of English proficiencies. And to find the effect of cooperative learning on speaking competence, they use two research instruments, which are speaking tests will be used by pre-test and two post-tests that will be used in descriptive statistic and including mean score and standard deviation and questionnaire. The main results show that the intervention group significantly improved their intrinsic motivation and identified regulation from pre-test to post-test in order to words. Cooperative learning led to students to experimental group to demonstrate higher oral classroom participation. So the next will explain by my friends.
The second research taken from Taibah University in Saudi Arabia, the study titled The Investigation of Cooperative Learning Techniques and Attitudes in Language Learning Classroom. So what is focused on this research? In this research, focus on investigating the cooperative learning techniques implemented by intermediate schools and examine students' attitude regarding the use of cooperative learning in language classes. There are two research instruments used to realize the objective of the study. So the first is the observation report, and second one is the attitude questionnaire. So the result of observation report that the teacher were unable to differentiate between cooperative learning and group work. Mostly they organized physical classroom setup appropriate for cooperative learning, giving the task and a student to work together. However, the high achiever of the groups not responsible of providing answers. Besides, most of activities were most of activities were drills and exercise that did not stimulate inappropriate for cooperative learning. Meanwhile, the result of the attitude questionnaire showed that students had a positive attitude toward cooperative learning. They consider cooperative learning will be beneficial and help them to acquire knowledge, support each other, and perform the assignment. Furthermore, the student expressed some concern regarding cooperative learning, that they sometimes receive unexpected scores that they never deserve, so it will cause conflict between group members. Okay friends, so thank you so much for watching our videos. Don't forget to drop your question if you have some of question, or maybe you want to edit some statement that is inappropriate. Maybe you can also drop your statement there in the Google Classroom. So thank you so much. We hope you guys like this video, and see you on the next topic. Thank you so much. Bye.